Welcome to the Boldcastify College Series for the Pinglehead Brewing Studios. My name's Clay.
It's CJ from town, 205.
There you go, representing. We're going to give you a little lowdown on the Bowl Championship Series or whatever's going on around.
Yeah.
Call it the Bowl Series.
Yeah,
What's going on? What's new?
Well, we watched Houston fold up in their bowl game, which surprisingly, because they played Florida State last year in their bowl game, right?
Yes.
And they
but they lost their coach.
Oh, yeah, they did lose a coach.
Tom Herndon took the Texas job.
He might have took their heart with him, too, when he went over to Texas.
We'll have to see what Tom can do at Texas. That's going to be an impressive move.
Well, he's set up. I think Charlie Strong set him up pretty good. And
indeed.
I feel like Charlie Strong should have had one more year because he did a lot of cleaning of house.
Yeah, he did. He had to clean up a lot of what Mac Brown left.
Yeah,
that
definitely brought in some good recruits, and I think he was on the way to bringing Texas back.
I can kind of see that.
But Herman would reap the benefits, so it's just fine. He's a great coach.
And he is a pretty good recruiter himself.
Very, very good recruiter. I mean, he pulled in, was Ed Oliver to Houston.
That's still crazy.
Yeah, that's wild. And he pulled in Kyle Allen away from Texas A&M to come and play for sit the bench at Houston for a year. That was wild. So, he's a hell of a recruiter, so I think he'll do some good things in Texas.
Any of the bowls really stick out to you? Besides, UCF losing.
UCF got blown out, which they was having actually a pretty good year for.
Yeah.
And they had in a long
on the
while.
Rebound.
Yeah.
Central Michigan lost.
Yeah.
I mean, not just lost in the Miami Bowl. They got blown out.
Yeah.
Tulsa took them to the woodshed.
Yeah.
Nothing I can really think, but I think he'll do pretty well at Texas.
Yeah, he was definitely a great recruiter, like you said, and he's proven that he can pull in a good coaching staff that'll get the Texas completely turned around, on which they're already on the way there, thanks to Charlie Strong. We got some other interesting head coaches
making rounds. Coaching carousel, should we say?
Yeah, we'll call it that.
Charlie Strong, as you were just talking about him.
Charlie Strong, I'm happy for him that he landed down in South Florida, because South Florida is on the way up, and I think he'll do good there. I mean, Florida is a great recruiting poll, and he's right down there in South Florida where a lot of the good high school football Florida players are at.
Yep.
And I think he'll surprise a lot of people with recruiting as far as pulling guys away from those top schools in Florida, like Florida State, Miami, and Florida. I think that might pull some of those guys away from him. And then you got, who's that? Lane Kiffin down in FAU, which is interesting, people think, but he needed a head coaching job.
Yeah, he did.
The reason why
absolutely.
he needed it is because I don't think Nick Saban was going to keep him regardless. I think he was going to get a new OC regardless this year.
Think
and that's
so?
why, yeah, definitely. I think that's why Nick Saban went out his way to push Lane Kiffin as a head coach. He actually went out his way to tell Houston that he'd be a great option, and he did everything he could to turn him into a head coach, and because he knew he wasn't going to retain him. So I think it's a good move for him. He's a great offensive caller. We'll see if he's rehabilitated as a head coach. We'll see if he can do it. I think Nick Saban's influence will be good for him, and I think it'll actually show that he's done some growth.
He's proved to be a great recruiter. He's an excellent recruiter.
You've
seen that at USC. You've seen that at Tennessee. It just don't know how he develops the players to this point.
And so far, his first quarterback is the guy that was kicked out of Florida State.
Yes.
That's his first recruit. He tried to get Blake Barnett, who left the program of Alabama. He decided to go to Arizona State, and so we'll see. He's definitely a quarterback guru. He's definitely a guy, if you're a quarterback and you're looking for some rehabilitation in your career, he's definitely a guy to go to, and we'll see what they do out there.
And I think Charlie Strong's going to do very well at South Florida.
I
think that's an upgrade over Taggart?
Not necessarily upgrade, but I think they don't lose nothing from
right.
Charlie Strong. I don't think it's necessarily upgrade. It may be upgrade in recruiting, but as far as coaching,
he knows Florida.
Yeah, as far as coaching, I think it's just he didn't lose a step.
And as for Taggart, he took the Oregon job.
Yeah, and I think it was time for Oregon with the new coach. Is he a defensive-minded coach? Do you know?
Taggart?
Yeah.
No, he's offensive.
Offensive-minded. I think they needed a defensive-minded coach, but the Oregon Ducks are built on offense, which is why I think they kind of needed a defensive coach, because they need to get some of those defensive recruits
I can't disagree with that one.
Playing on that West Coast, you can play a lot against the air raid offenses, and
but
I think they need some D.
Taggart comes from the Jim Harbaugh tree in some aspect.
Exactly. So,
actually his father's tree, and a little bit Jim's.
So I'm pretty sure his coaching tree is strong.
Yes.
As far as bringing other coaches in there to help him out, and I think they'll get that defense on point, and if they can get that defense on point, Oregon could be on their way back up because they were just in the playoffs.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the talent should be there. Apparently, Mark Helfrich just couldn't get it done.
Yeah.
Once Chip Kelly's players kind of went out the door, that's all he had.
Houston decided to stay in-house because I feel like Houston was tired of coaches coming for 2-3 years and going on to bigger Texas jobs. And I think that played in a lot into why Lane Kiffin didn't get that job because
they knew it would only be a springboard to winning the job.
Yeah, exactly. I think they want a guy that's going to stay a while.
And the irony is they hired a former Texas quarterback.
Yeah. And don't be surprised if they take a shot at ACC maybe after Big 12 kicked them out and booted them out and didn't let them get in. Why not take a shot at another conference? And I see ACC as one of those.
Think Houston, when you try to take a shot at the ACC, that'd be a big market.
And they're looking for a big market.
Oh, yeah.
I think they really wanted the Big 12. And I think
the Big 12 would be ideal for them. But the travel, that would be something. But then again, you look at the Big 12, you got West Virginia that travels.
Yeah, exactly. And
all over the daggum place to be in the Big 12.
Exactly. So, I mean, I think it'll be a good move for them if they can try to put up. Either way, I don't know what conference, but I think they're going to be looking for another conference in a year or two here to join, especially if they can do good. They got a quarterback waiting, Kyle Allen, who, transferred from Texas A&M, was a 5-star guy, played 2 pretty good years at Texas A&M, and I think at Houston, I think in that offense, definitely he's going to shine, and they're going to try to fight their way into a major conference.
I think it's only time.
Yeah.
Whether it's Big 12, whether it's somewhere, they're going to be in a conference.
Yeah. And I think
that market, you can't deny it.
With the playoffs and the way you get into the playoffs, I think that's what you need.
And at one time, they were in a per se major conference in the Southwestern Conference before it dissolved.
Ohio State this year kind of shitted on all the rules and stuff because, big thing is conference championship.
Yeah, and if you go back to a quote from Urban Meyer himself, he actually said, I want to say it was the 2008 when he was still with Florida, that if you don't win your conference, you shouldn't be in the title game.
Yeah.
Kind of brushes that aside right now.
Oh, yeah. You had a situation where Alabama played LSU without winning their conference, but it was a rematch of a really good game that year. Maybe they shouldn't have played in that game because they didn't win their conference.
Well, it's hard to say with the playoff times, but before that, when it was the BCS era and the Bowl Coalition era, I did not believe in rematches.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, that's kind of the same thing in Ohio State's place this year. It's kind of like the committee kind of just said, hey, we just think they deserve to be in there.
Okay, last 2 hires. What do you think about Matt Rule going from Temple to Baylor? A place where he's never coached in Texas. He's always been on the East Coast.
Recruiting-wise, I think it'll be tough because I think you have coaches in Texas that are kind of set in stone. Even with Tom Herman just moving to another school in Texas, I think they're kind of set in stone. And it's definitely an upgrade for him from Temple to Baylor, especially, for recruiting to pull more guys in. I think it'll be exciting to see what the offense is going to look like with him there. If he's going to attempt to kind of change it or if he's going to stay with what Baylor's known for, and that's throwing the ball all over the field. So
that's a fact.
Interesting to see. They had a guy transfer from them to Auburn, a dual threat guy. So it'll be interesting to see what he can do out there in Baylor.
And last but not least, Brom from Western Kentucky takes it to Purdue. Former Western Kentucky quarterback.
Purdue's in what conference Purdue's in?
Big Ten.
Big Ten. It's gonna be tough. Big Ten proved that they were the best division this year. I think. I mean, if you look at it from a ranking standpoint, they were the best division in football this year. It'll be a tough transition, going from a conference where it was a little easier to win to this tough Big. But
oh yeah,
we'll see. We'll see what he does out there. I mean, the expectations are not completely high for him, so I think he could come into a situation where he could shock the world if he pulls in the right recruits and the right coaches and develops his guys the right way. I think he could shock the world.
It's definitely quite possible.
Yeah.
Now, going back to another couple of tidbits of news, what do you think about Jimbo Fisher getting his extension?
I think it was well-deserved. I think it kind of shuts out all of the noise. You people always try to place coaches somewhere when there's a new coaching job opening.
Oh, absolutely.
I think, Florida State, they knew what they had to do to shut all that noise up. And I think Jimbo's very, very, very well-deserving. And I think Florida State will be a dangerous school next year. They should have been a dangerous school this year. I think they're going to be dangerous next year.
Have a 5-star commitment coming, Ben.
Yeah, Francois coming back. I mean, the defense is always going to be good at Florida State, and I feel like they're on the up and up. A little bit of a rebuilding year this year. A little bit of guys just kind of learning each other, but I think that's very good for Jimbo. I think that's very good for Florida State. I think that's more good for Florida State than Jimbo because I feel like Jimbo's an excellent coach and he can go anywhere.
Yeah, he got a salary raise from 5.25 to 5.5.
Yeah, and compared to top tier guys, you got Harbaugh out there making $9 million. And Saban making $7 million. I think he should be up there. I definitely agree. I mean, at least in the 7 range as far as millions of dollars. But
Florida State's paying what they can pay.
Exactly, and I think he's just a championship away from getting that.
Which if he gets another championship at Tallahassee, I guarantee he'll be making 7.5 or 8.
Yeah, no doubt.
He'll have no choice but to give it to him.
Yeah, he'll deserve that definitely. He's a great coach.
What do you have in Alabama? What's upcoming besides the college football playoff versus Washington Peach Bowl?
So a lot of people, are already saying that this is going to be a bye week for Alabama and all this noise, but you got to think about Washington. Is a team we don't play often at all. No. A team we don't get to watch often at all because they play in the Pac-12 in those late games. I think they have a very, very well-developed quarterback, very explosive offense, a very fast receiver out there, and I think that's John Ross out there that's very fast. They got a very solid defense, which they've had a solid defense for the past 2 years, I think. And
that quarterback.
And that coach with a month to prepare, he's going to have some things for us. So
Peterson's good.
I think what it'll come down to our defensive line owning them at some point in the game, most likely in the second half, and I think that's how we pull it off. But I think Washington puts up a hell of a fight. This is the best team we played all year, especially because they have the quarterback. They have the formula.
Browning is good.
They have the formula to beat Alabama.
I think Browning is really good.
They got the formula to beat Alabama. It's all about execution. But I think with us having a month to prepare too, you're talking about somebody out-coaching Nick Saban, which hasn't happened often. And, I think we're going to prepare I think we got unfinished business. All of our guys, nobody's talking about NFL. Everybody's talking about finishing business. And we got a very poised quarterback, a very mature quarterback. And I think Nick Saban has his guys focused, but I also think Washington's very focused. And I think it'll be a 10-point game either way.
I can't disagree anymore because Peterson's been there. I mean, obviously he was the architect of Boise State for years. The Statue of Liberty play against Oklahoma. He's been there. He's seen it. He's done it.
He'll be ready for us, and I think we'll be ready for him. I think it'll be a great game.
I think it's going to be a good game.
Yeah.
The biggest disadvantage is Washington. One of the biggest. Well, besides this is the best Alabama team probably ever, or at least Nick Saban's.
Hey, Nick Saban's era. That's
at least Nick Saban's era. This is probably his best team.
This is his best team.
But
most
the other
unique team.
But the other biggest disadvantage is they're traveling to an area that they're not accustomed to traveling to.
Yeah.
In the Peach Bowl, or the Georgia Dome, should I say.
Which is pretty much a second home from Alabama the past
exactly.
3 years. I mean,
that is what they know. That is where they always travel.
We've won there the last 3 years, and we also played there the last 5 or 6. So,
right.
I mean, I think it'll be tough for them, especially because Alabama travels very well. So expect to see a lot of crimson out there.
The crimson compared to the purple is going to be what would you say, 75-25, if not 80-20?
Well, let's not get it mistaken. Washington will be prepared.
Yeah.
That's the difference between, I think, a lot of teams playing us. I think they'll be prepared, and I think they'll put up a hell of a fight.
Yeah. Think about the other game, the Clemson-Ohio State. Any thoughts?
So, Clemson to me is not as good as they were last year defensively. But if it's coming down to who's gonna win at the end between Deshaun Watson and JT Barrett, give me Deshaun Watson. I mean, he put up a hell of a game in the championship game last year.
Absolutely.
A game that, if you don't look at the stats, you thought he won. And I think he's going to have that same motivation. He believes that he's the best player in college football, even though he got snubbed for the Heisman, which I don't think he got snubbed. I think Lamar Jackson was the most exciting player in college football, period. And I think Deshaun Watson is out to prove something, especially after losing last year after that great game. I think he's going to be motivated. I think Clemson's going to be motivated. Dabo has turned Clemson into a powerhouse team, a powerhouse program, and I think they're going to roll over Ohio State. I think it'll be a good first half. But
yes, I think undoubtedly Clemson's going to run away with it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't want to say run away with it, but I think Clemson's at the end is going to win it.
Definitely.
But we'll see. We'll talk about it again closer to time. But last but not least, let's touch on the fact. What do you think about the running back sitting out?
I don't think they should specifically in Christian McCaffrey's situation, and I just heard today that the running back from Baylor is going to be sitting out, which doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, and he has a 3rd-round grade or something.
If you're not injured and you don't have a 1st-round grade, play this last game with your boys. I mean, you take the importance out of bowl games, which I think that's a privilege to play in. I mean, they set up so many bowl games so every team can feel like they, go home with a trophy, a chance to go home with a trophy. And that's what you're playing for. You're playing for pride. You may not have had a good season, but if you made the bowl game, that's the whole point. You got some kind of championship, and I think those guys should play. In Leonard Fournette's case, I can give him a pass because, I mean, honestly, he's been ready to go since his freshman year.
Yeah, I mean, they've wanted him to sit out the whole season.
Yeah, and, he has been dealing with the ankle injury, and they're not missing nothing without him because Gary's guys can run it just as good, I think. And
that's true.
I honestly, I kind of surprised Leonard Fournette's stock hasn't dropped. Just the fact that they see that, or maybe it's just a credit to Darius Geisler. He's just a really good player, and he's the same caliber kind of player as Leonard Fournette. But I think that also, at the end of the day, I think all those guys should play. It's your last game, man. I mean, why not?
Yeah, a lot of players.
If you were playing for a championship, you wouldn't sit out.
No, a lot of former players have come out and
Yeah.
voiced their opinions against this.
Yeah.
And said, like, you can't do this because, I mean, your collegiate level, this is where your home is, no matter what professional team you're on.
Yeah.
Your heart's your collegiate team. But a lot of people are worried about their bodies and worried about the future.
Let's touch on one last question before we leave. Chances that Lamar Jackson repeats as Heisman Trophy winner. What is your thoughts on that?
My thoughts would be probably at 12%.
Yeah, I think it's really hard to repeat, only because when you're talking about the Heisman, you're talking about a bunch of people that's voting that wants to see something, you do something amazing that you haven't done before. And I think Lamar Jackson, credit to him, he had an amazing year, and I think because of that, he won't be able to repeat because they want something new that you haven't done. Now, if he goes out and adds 1,000 yards to his passing yards that he had this year and adds 1,000 yards to his rushing, give it to him. I mean, give it to him. But
it would have to be his numbers are already astronomical anyways. But he would have to have a championship season. They would have to win the ACC.
Exactly.
Be in the playoff.
Exactly. And I think
his numbers would have to be even higher than what they are now.
And I think people are going to take notice if he has the type of year he had yesterday where he had a good first half and then kind of played some tougher teams toward the end and kind of fell off. I think voters are going to pay attention to that next year and kind of see that. Maybe not. Maybe we should give it to somebody else.
Right. Because, I mean, there was already some debate later in the season, but some of the votes were already cast.
Yeah.
So, but you've already seen it because it's already been talked about with Menzel, with Tebow,
exactly.
many other athletes previously.
Exactly.
That fact, how close it could have been to two
and that pressure,
repeats.
That pressure you play with as a Heisman winner next year is really tough.
It's only happened once, which Archie Griffin.
And there's a reason for that.
Exactly. Special players can only do it, and even then, it's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah.
Perfect, right time. That happens. And like some said, that second season, they really couldn't find anyone to rise to the top.
Yeah, and people are on notice now. You win the Heisman, they're on notice. If they don't stop anybody, they're going to stop you.
Exactly. Well, I guess with that, we're going to wrap it up for the Pinglehead Brewing Studios.
We'll be back tomorrow to discuss some of this NFL. Get some NFL in and maybe get some college predictions on some bowl games.
Yep. So we'll do a little bit of the Boldcastify football show and a little prediction. So check us out. Boldcastify, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and any social media site you can think of. This is Clay.
This is CJ from the town 205.
Represent. Follow us on Boldcastify. You are listening to Boldcastify.